about community housing. Brian was the president of one of the biggest co-ops of Cotton Lake, and also Yusuf has lots of information about this model. I will give the stage to both of you.
Well, so actually my talk is a bit general about the social housing. So I'll talk generally about the social housing development in Montreal. My name is Youssef, and I worked for a GRT, a Group Resource Technique, earlier, which is Bâtir son quartier, and I'm working now at Société d'Habitation et Développement de Montréal.
And you work for us for
Yeah, exactly. I work for the council also during the COVID. Well, so we're mainly going to talk about the housing programs on a provincial level. We're also going to talk about one of the main actors in the social housing field, which is the Group Resource Technique. There are so many actors for sure, but I'm just focusing on my experience with the GRT. And if we have time, also we can talk about the challenges that we face during the development and mainly during the operation of the project. So to start, I would like to talk about one of the important actors in the social housing, which the Group Resource Technique, or GRT as we know it. So the GRT is we can consider it as a social development. It's a non-profit organization for sure that works under the social economic model. So unlike private developers, GRT, they doesn't have a land where the project will be constructed and built, and they don't even have the funds in order to finance the project. The only thing that they are doing is providing technical resources for the groups. We call the group, but it's a co-op and the NGO, the housing NGO. So actually the mandate of the GRT is huge. I will try to highlight some of the services that they do during the development and during the construction of the project. So first, they work closely with the groups to allocate land and have the group provide the land where the project will be built. For sure, they have them to find also kind of financing or funds to finance the project through the housing program on the provincial and federal level, and even municipality level. They coordinate a lot with professional architects, engineers, even with public instances. They do the ability studies and also feasibility study. They work a lot on the before the construction on the bid process in order to select the main contractor for constructing the project, and during also they assisted during the construction, and they also work as a consultant during the first year of the operation of the project. So today in Montreal we have like 4 main GRT that covers the territory of Montreal. So we have Bâtir son quartier, Rommel, which works a lot in NDG, also in the Côte des Neiges. We have also Group CDH and Atelier Habitation. So back to 1994, so the federal government actually stopped funding the social housing. Even the HLM that we're seeing all over Montreal, they lost the funding that they had from federal, even provincial and municipality, and it was very hard for the social housing this period until the establishment of Axélogie in 1996, 1997, yeah, by the SHQ. The SHQ is the Société d'Habitation de Québec, which is the government, which is the provincial government. The program initially was 5 years, only was launched for 5 years. It was experimental, and then it succeeded, and then it was reconducted all over the year until 2022. It was replaced with the new program that I think you heard about, which is Programme d'Habitation Abordable Québec, known as the FAC. It is worth mentioning also that in 2022, the SHP had agreement with what we call the Fonds Fiscalisé. How many times? The Fonds Fiscalisé
You have
déjà
another,
Exactly.
window of time. In
Uh,
that one part. But
Exactly. So Axology has been one of the most effective financial tools that stood behind the construction and development of 35,000 social units all over Quebec. There are three types of interventions for Axology. It's the new construction and existing building, buying an existing building and doing major renovations. And also the third one is buying existing building and doing minor renovations. To conclude with that, so in terms of budget, the subventions that we have usually represent the subventions that we have from the provincial level, usually represent 60% of the project cost. The municipality, when the project is built in, contributes also with 10 to 15% of the project cost, and the remaining 25% is funded by a mortgage that is paid for sure by the organization.
at the end of the Viking Grand Boulevard, we will listen again to Yusuf and we continue with the bar.
Delaney just mentioned that there was a student long time ago, and with the work of Aris to improve. On your document, you have a very complex kind of organogram. Try to understand it if you can, but it shows you all the different parties that Yusuf was calling. The GRT, the SHQ, the SHGM, and all that is this complex system that we all have to understand. It will help you understand better what they are talking about.
Now we will listen to Brian. He has lived experience, professional experience in running a successful co-op. Thank you for joining us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I wrote this first part down, then I'll go into more detail. Anyway, thank you for inviting me to speak with you today on the issues that affect so many families, our growing housing crisis, and more importantly, the essential role of the housing cooperative can play a creative. Can be louder?
Louder. Just a bit
Louder? Okay.
We're getting old.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so as many of you know, there's been a great deal of publicity surrounding housing in the recent years. Unfortunately, it's negative. There's a lot of negative, not a lot of positive. Now, cooperative, for myself, my experience, cooperative is the best solution to the housing problem. Only because if it's run properly, the government is not continually throwing money in year after year, and then their budgets get tight and everything. Cooperative is supposed to take care of itself. It's supposed to be self-sustaining, and it's very possible. My personal experience, when I started with the co-op, I drafted into it. I didn't really have any kind of experience, but when I got drafted into it, the co-op was over $100,000 in debt. The arrears in electricity alone. So a company had taken over the co-op, and they made a contract with them, and they started to pay. They paid themselves first, 8%, and then they started to take money and say, okay, we'll pay this electric bill because there's 16 of them. There were so many apartments, so there's 16 different buildings, let's say. And so they would end up paying one, and then they pay that one, and then it comes to a head where electricity is going to be shut down. There's that, and the fact that they had a laundry room and money was suddenly not coming in. It was a real mess. So when I had gotten there, what I did was I simply spoke to CMHC. I took the loan out, and I promised that I'd be there for as long as they will be in. We took the loan out, and we put 8 apartments who you couldn't even live in them anymore. They were empty. We were having trouble making the mortgage. So with that money, we had a list of things. We made a deal with CMHC and what we're going to repair.
And CMHC is?
CMHC, Canadian Mortgage and Housing. So they gave us a loan. I made a deal with them for not to pay the loan for 9 months so that I can get things going, rent the apartments that we put together, and then we move on. So this worked very effectively, and I made good connections. I created a good network with a lot of contractors so that our prices would be low, with the promise that we're going to help them. We're going to give them more work. So with that, we ended up getting like between $750,000, $800,000 of what it would have cost. We did it in that short amount. $100,000 went right away to the electricity, so we get back on track. And we did all of these things, got it all straightened out. After 4 years, we paid that off, the other mortgage, and took a $2.3 million loan, completely fresh at 2.3%. Now, when you're going to take a loan, you can make a deal with CMHC. You pay them to secure the loan. It reduces your interest rate. We dropped it down to 2.3 at the time, and then we were steady. After those 4 years, we were in control of the rent again because we had to raise the rent according to what CMHC wanted. At that point, we got everything stabilized. All the apartments were being renovated. Almost every apartment is renovated. So they're really nice apartments. Every time there's somebody new that came in, when the apartment's empty, we'd renovate it because that's the cheapest time to do it. When we had repairs, a lot of times you'll see in these co-ops, you have a repair, they come in, there's a leak, so they cut 6 inches of the pipe, they hook up new pipe in there. But listen, that pipe took a leak because it was really thin. Right beside that 6 inches, that's still thin. So it pops again. And every time a pipe would break, we have to fix the ceiling and then whatever damage, it's very expensive. So you go from one end to the other. The full thing from elbow to elbow, change the whole pipe. So we did things like this. With the new loan, we hired a planning manager. So we had a project manager that came in and organized exactly, got his crews in and everything to make sure we can get everything done properly, safely, and with some guarantees that it's going to last. Because other buildings, they turn around and do this, the work's so shoddy, but they're not aware. Next thing you know, everything falls apart and the whole co-op is shot, the buildings are shot. So that's what we did to take care of that. Now the most important thing is, and I learned something new, I just learned something new, sadly. The most important thing is your board of directors. A lot of times when you have board of directors, you have these elections and it's a popularity contest. You have to make sure people understand that it's not a popularity contest, it's who can do the job, who's best fitted to be president, to be the treasurer, who's best fitted for that. And people will have to vote in that direction and not, I don't like the guy, I'm not voting for him. It doesn't make any sense to go that direction. So if you manage to pull that off, you do that, then it's just to learn how to do a budget, how to keep up a budget. And one thing that we did, I had 96 apartments. And I had a good group of people that were supporting me and helping me, especially plumbers, electricians, roofer. I had good connections with all of them, so it did help. But if we had all the co-ops actually bind together and say, okay, let's do this together, the maintenance costs can really go down. Now, if you have a good maintenance, someone living in a building that really knows their maintenance, good handyman, that's going to save you a lot of money. In most cases, that's not the case. Truthfully, in a co-op, you often have single mothers with children. You have some people that are new to the country. There's a lot of different people that will be over there that perhaps don't have the skill set to actually do maintenance and to understand all of that. So if the co-ops bind together, you can create a network where, say, my co-op, I have the guy come in, he's going to do plastering and stuff and fixing some walls. You need the same thing. So I send it from here to there, and it's just one, you're not paying guaranteed 3 hours right off the bat and all of that. So they're going to be more likely to say, okay, I will lower the price. Louder. I will lower the price because I'm going to have so much work. I can hire a crew and I always have them working, as opposed to hiring a crew and then I can't, they're gone and they have a big turnover. So co-ops have a lot of power when it comes to the amount of properties you have, the amount of apartments you have, and how much work has to be done. You have a lot of the power in that. Just think of a corner store and Walmart. You can be the Walmart. You can buy in bulk and you can take things in bulk. So long as you're willing to work together and understand that personalities are less important than knowledge. Everyone goes for personality. You're lucky if you have personality and knowledge, like myself, thank you. No. if you have, but it's really important that people can work together, right? Co-ops will survive if they work together. It is way better, in my opinion, than these buildings that are controlled by the government So they subsidize the whole building, everybody's paying a lower rent, and they keep putting more and more money every year. My biggest fear about that is what's happened. You have the housing crisis because they don't have the budget, they don't have the money, they can't put that. So we have a building on Cavendish that has multiple apartments that's sitting there dead, year after year after year. Exactly. And then you go over on Walkley between Chester and Fielding, there's 18 apartments there. That's been sitting there dead for 20 years. And everybody says the same thing, oh, well, you know, it's too expensive to put together. Had that been a co-op, that never would have happened.
Zero.
What?
He's telling you zero.
Zero what?
Zero time.
Zero time.
Oh, so I have 0 time? Well, wasn't that fun?
You did a great job.
Yeah, sure.
This set of buildings were built as new in 2004, if I got it right, if I remember, 2005. And when you came into the picture and the developing this with the co-ops, what year was that?
I started, I took over the co-op, I'd say 15, let's say 17, 18 years ago. I started to take over the co-op in Cocaine. That's when I
was
took
just
over.
wondering that, given that these buildings were open new in 2004,
Yeah.
you're describing quite a state of deterioration by the time that this co-op structure started. So who managed them in that intervening period?
Well, back then, what happened was they had people that were doing it, it wasn't transparent. So as that was going, you had less and less knowledge and more of a clique that were taking care of the co-op. Things started falling apart because of the lack of knowledge in whatever category. So the building just was dying bit by bit by bit, and there was some other irresponsible things that I still have trouble with, is people paying their rent. Money goes down, you stop doing those repairs, and the biggest thing is the Band-Aid repairs. It's so expensive to save $100 on a pipe and pay thousands of dollars for gyprock, you know? So, and manpower.
Can we?
I have questions real quick last while we walk.
Yeah.
We're a bit behind schedule.
Sure.
Also for acronyms and stuff, you can see them on the flyer. If you hear an acronym that you don't know what it is. But we're gonna go right across where we're gonna talk about
OTRI.
three.